Hey everyone, welcome. If you're new here, I'm dropping out of my PhD, 6 months, June 2024. And the first step, well, my first goal is to reach 5K in passive income. Now, before I even approach that, which I don't really know how I'm going to approach at the moment, I wanted to build a project management system. I have lots of projects going on. I'm still going to be a PhD student for the next 6 months, in addition to building in public and recording myself. So lots of goals, lots of tasks I need to keep track of. And so I just finished, I sort of reached the point where I could wrap it up and move on to the next step, which is 100% deciding or deciding with 100% certainty that I am going to drop out, I'm not going to drop out. So far it's been like 98, 99% certainty, but there's this one little thing, this one system that an engineer from Amazon taught me, or a programmer from Amazon taught me, and I want to run through the system in public, and hopefully you guys get some benefit from that as well. Um, yeah, so anyways, where am I going with this? So just wrapped up the Obsidian, the project management system on day 14. So right now we're on day 15. And so in wrapping it up, I sort of packaged it to make it usable by not just me. It's following getting things done, it's using Obsidian, there's sort of a niche for that. And so what I did was market it to try to get attention, and it's been going pretty well as it can for any YouTube channel that's starting. So I made Reddit posts, I made I think a Twitter post, and I posted on an entrepreneur Discord. And so as a result, I think it got me like 7 subscribers. It's starting to get my views up. So typically I've been getting around 20 views per video. So my past 2 videos have been doing 28, the one before that 32, this one 42, and this one I posted just the morning today. And so my views are starting to go up. You can see here my typical is 1 to 9 views. This one's 42. Impression click-through rate, this is starting to go okay. Just yesterday or the day before, I was wondering like, how am I even going to get this up? So people are choosing to watch this video as often as my other videos. Oh, that's lame. I thought it was, I thought my click-through rate was comparable to other videos. But no, I still need to get it up. I want to aim for like 5 to 10%. So we'll see. And yeah, view duration is going up as well. So marketing has been successful, and there's still a few little things that I can do to market it just a little bit more and get the last bit of juice before I go on to my next part, which is building a system. And with anything in this journey, my goal is to do things that are helpful, or to reach my goal of 5K, but then also whatever I can do that doesn't require too much additional effort, package it up and give it to people basically for free, just to help other people in similar circumstances as me reach their goals faster than I would have. Help the next generation basically. But anyways, yeah, so I posted on Reddit, but there's still some other Reddits I want to post to. But before I go on to those, they may not be as familiar with Obsidian. So I made a video, I recorded myself going over my template vault. And so right now we're going to be editing it. And then I also recorded a 1-minute video to post on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So try to reach an even broader audience. And then I need to edit that as well, go over the thumbnail, the title, and then we're going to post that. So that's mainly the goal for today. And then if I have extra time, I will also try to, I might as well just dive into finally deciding whether I'm going to drop out. If I don't get to this today, I'll make it tomorrow. And then after I make that, then the next part is going over it again, but in a packaged manner, and then making a video. So Worst case, best case, I can go over this today. Worst case, I go over it tomorrow, and hopefully have time to finish this tomorrow as well. And then the next day after that, we're going to be marketing that video, so making posts to Reddit on grad school or PhD, maybe some other places where basically anywhere, for example, career transitions. Let's actually write that. Basically anywhere where people need to make decisions, we want to market that next video. And then also make Twitter, Instagram, TikTok posts. And after that, right now I'm just basically going through a timeline of what this next week looks like. So after that, we need to make a plan. How are we going to get to 5K in passive income? So I'm going to record that like this, how I normally do, just another day in the life or building in public, and then refining it a little bit more so that it's marketable, and putting that on plan markets. Okay, per month video. Yeah, so then after that, market it to the Reddit entrepreneurial communities. And then at that point, I want to take a little bit of a step back and really hone in on my content creation skills. So watching some YouTube Udemy videos, I purchased some courses on Black Friday on Udemy about YouTube. So going through those, watching videos on YouTube on how to organically increase subscribers, really making sure that all my social medias are linked and interconnected. So if you're on any one social media, you can easily find any of my other social medias. Maybe that helps, like some interconnections. I don't know. And then also just journaling. So honing in on what's going to go on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Kick. How can I stream to all these places? What does my posting schedule look like? So once I start school in like 2 days, I'll really hone in on when I'm going to be posting each video. And I think what it might be is I'll record a day, post it the next day at 8 a.m., something like that. And then also exploring other YouTube channels in my niche, and exploring how to bridge the gap between where I am and where they are at. So does that mean like increasing the quality of my thumbnails? Do I need to change the titles? Do I need to film better? I am looking into purchasing better camera, but is that even something I should worry at this point about? Should I have a better background? Does the AC in the back just turn people off, or what's happening? So anyways, going into recording the video or editing the video. So it's about an hour. It's a bit of a lengthy one. And I am using Final Cut Pro in case you're curious. I won't be sharing audio for this. So in this case, you can just, I don't know, if you want to tune in on this, I will be talking over at some points. So maybe put on some nice house music, some lounge music, or whatever music you listen to, and you can just watch me work if you want, or you can just tune out. Whichever works for you. You can see how I edit stuff. Get whatever value out of this that you want. I'm just recording consistently, no matter what it is, showing how I build in public. Okay, let's go. actually fud it. I won't say the word, but I can just share the audio. It's not as bad as my TikTok ones. Test, test, test. What was my audio? Okay. That's offline, that I can use whenever, and that is also secure. I have ambitions. All right, so you can hear it now. Let's edit it. Is also secure. I have ambitions of lots of startups and different ideas, and if I know that a Notion employee, or not saying that this would ever happen, but if something like that can happen, I don't want it to happen. So I'd rather have it on me to secure my own notes. And then the next one is also ToDoist. This is similar to Notion, however, it's more task-oriented. But again, it's on cloud-based. It's cloud-based online. And then, as always, it's not free. And yeah, again, it's also not project-based, in particular for using lots of files for projects like I do, which I'll cover briefly in the in the next parts. So now I'm using Obsidian. Suppose you're interested. So now, how do we get started? If you're new to Obsidian, this is essentially what you do. When you download Obsidian, you're gonna have an open screen like this. Okay, let's actually make this a little bit more efficient. Let's do YouTube script. These are my tags for the video. Timestamps. So where are we at? Introduction, and then we went into why Obsidian. Issues with previous softwares, and what have we gone into? Whatever we're at 400. Ways, but you have to have a sign. And in particular, my project, I'm going to be, so in this video, welcome. So in this video, I'm going to be covering two main things. First, I'm going to be covering Obsidian for beginners, and then I'm also going to be covering my project management system that follows the getting things done methodology. And in particular, I'm going to be following this Obsidian vault that I've made. It's the Minori template. It's available on my GitHub, link in the comments. And so whether you're new to Obsidian or whether you're a diehard supporter, there's probably going to be something here for you. So let's just get started. For those that are new to Obsidian, what's Obsidian? Why Obsidian? Now, I'm not like sponsored or anything. It's a intro issues. So around 40 seconds. Is it the right way to write a timestamp? Minute, seconds. Yeah, 40 seconds. Intro, 00. You have a project that this would ever happen, but and then as always, it's not free, and yeah, again, it's also not project based, in particular for using lots of files for projects like I do, which I'll cover briefly in the in the next parts. So now I'm using Obsidian. Suppose you're interested. So now, how do we get started? If you're These are different settings you can up. And essentially what you do, when you download Obsidian, you're going to have an open screen like this. And you won't see these. These are my recent vaults. And okay, first let's just open it. So if you downloaded my my template vault from GitHub, you'll oh, okay. I was wondering what this little red box is, but I think it's just to view it to see it show up. You might have to unzip it first. So once you unzip it, you'll have the folder, open it, and this is what you'll see. And if it doesn't quite show up on the side like this, if anything's spotty, then follow these instructions. So first you want to toggle this. Right now it's off, we want it on. So now you can see the folders are organized as I intend them to be. And then also open up the Obsidian start. So let's do that again. Go to Manage Workspace Layouts, Load, and then it'll open up, it opens up images, but it'll open up this main file, and this is where you want to start. And so if you're, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar, but with Obsidian, this main file, and this is where you want to start. And so if you're, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar, but with Obsidian images, but it'll open up this main file, and this is where you want to start. Open up getting started. Or what's a good way? Settings, getting set up. Okay, so where were we? This main file, and this is where you want to start. And so if you're, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar, but with Obsidian, everything is folder. With Obsidian, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar with images, but it'll open up, again, go to Manage Workspace Layout. It'll open up, so it opens up, and this is where you want to start your, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar, but with Obsidian, everything is folder and file based. So a vault is essentially a root folder where all of your other is folder with Obsidian file, and this is where you want to start. And oh, I see. Getting started. This main file, and this is where you want to start. And so if you're, well, again, we're assuming you're unfamiliar, but with Obsidian, everything is folder and file based. So a vault is essentially a root folder where all of your other folders and notes are held. So this is called the Monroe Template Vault. And in this vault, in this folder, we have 151 files and 123 folders. So that's a vault. That's sort of how Obsidian is structured. And so with Obsidian, we have all these different sort of UI components to it to make it more than just a bunch of folders and files. So there's a right sidebar, left sidebar. I don't know if these are the official names, but it's what I'm using for now. The bottom, which has more options, the top right here, and this little side bar. So these are all different things you can click on, you can customize for more functionality. And now in this video, I'm not going to cover all of those different aspects. What I'm mainly trying to cover is how do you get started, how do you get rolling. I'm sure you can find other videos that cover all these little buttons. My suggestion is just click them and explore. Maybe find one or two key videos that are helpful. Maybe some people in the comments will comment them. I'm in particular focused on this vault, getting you started with the functionality, customizing the functionality, and the different settings options. So this first part of the vault for beginners looks at how do we set up Obsidian, in particular the settings and plugins. And so the options follow the different, the options follow the different options in the settings. So here we can see there's an options tab, core plugins, community plugins. Yeah, so those three. And maybe they, yeah. Wait, in settings. Maybe they follow the different options in the settings. So here we can see there's an options tab, core plugins. So here we can see in the settings. Tab, core plugins, community plugins. Yeah, maybe they, yeah. Wait, actually, community plugin. So looking at the options, follow the different options in the settings. So follow the options, Obsidian, in particular the settings and plugins. And so the options, and plugins. So looking at the options, here we can see these are the different options that show up in settings. So for example, options, we see we have general, editor, files, appearance, hot links, core plugins, and community plugins. Now the other ones, core plugins, community plugins, are just extensions of these two. So this covers all the settings. And so just looking at this first, if we go into our settings, we go to general, doesn't really have any setting functionality. But if we go to editor, this is where you start to see all the different things. And these are different settings you can explore, and this tells you a little bit about them. You'll notice that the setting also tells you a little bit about what it does. And my suggestion is to just download two of these vaults, open them side by side, click one on one side, leave it as default on the other side, and then you can see what changes. It's just so that you understand where everything is if you want to become a very good around Obsidian. Yeah, so you can just check that out. Files and links, same thing, just a bunch of different settings you can have and explore. Appearance, this is where things start to get a lot more customizable in the sense of you're interacting with it daily. So for example, appearance, how do you want it to appear? Right now I have dark theme. You can also have light theme. For fonts, you can specify that, how you want the different sort of buttons and your title to appear. Right now, my title is in line, so I can type anything. It changes the name in a very good, so that you does is where you start to see all the different set. How do we set up Obsidian, in particular the settings and options? Here we can options that show up things. So editor, files, appearance, links, core plugins. Now the other ones, core plugins, community plugins, are just extensions of these two. So this covers all the settings. And so just looking at this first, if we go into our settings, we go to we have anything functionality. But if editor, the and settings also tells you download 2 of these vaults, leave it. It's just very good around Obsidian. Yeah, so you can just check that out. Files and links. Same thing, just a bunch of different settings you can have and explore. Appearance, this is the different title to appear. Type anything, but not have the title show up. And then for even more customization, Obsidian has this is where I'm not too familiar, but it's Markdown based, and so with that there's also a lot of JavaScript and CSS and other things that I'm not too familiar with, but I know enough to be able to adjust the headings, the text color, bold color, italics, this one, and have this little color for the check mark, and all of these different things you can adjust yourself as well. So when you download this, there's going to be let me see if I can find the folder. Yeah, so when you download this, these are all the files that you're downloading, and some of them are hidden. For example, the .obsidian file. This is where you have all the different appearance, community plugins, and other things like that. And so with this one, you're going to see within Obsidian there's snippets. In snippets there's a theme.css file, and so here you can essentially go to these different lines and specify different colors, and that's actually pretty easy, given that you just have to go to the line, change the background color, change heading colors. So that's one benefit of this, that it's very easy to customize a lot of the different things. There's other options for themes and other stuff like that, but the aim with this file is to just be minimal and functional. So now that we're done with appearance, hotkeys. So in this file, or in this file, I have all the different plugins. No. So now hotkeys. If we're done with appearance, hotkeys. So now that we're done with appearance and functional. So now hotkey is to just be minimal and functional. So now hotkeys. If you're not familiar with hotkeys, it's essentially ways to perform actions just using clicks with your keyboard. It can make note editing, note taking a lot quicker. And so these hotkeys are distinguished into two categories: core plugins and community plugins. Core plugins are those that Obsidian itself comes with by default, and they're secure. Now, community plugins are those that other developers can make, and you can download and set up. And so with community plugins, more often than not, at least from what I've seen, the people that make these community plugins, they're secure because the code's on GitHub. Other people can verify, and you can see how many people have downloaded it. So you get an understanding of sort of what you're downloading. And so people can, for example, have malicious code, but it's unlikely, especially if it's going to be one of these plugins that has thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of downloads. So these are just the core plugins I've set up for myself for this fall. Again, I encourage you to explore, change it as you want. So for example, let's go over this. Fold less. What does this do? We hit Command Option right bracket. Oh, maybe not. I think I might have them mixed up. But if you do fold less, fold more, you can see on a given heading, it gets folded in. Or I can just click it and you fold. You can go through your notes really quickly and organize them in this manner. Now there's other options like this. So move up, move down. This is moving up a line, moving down a line. Navigate back and forth. This goes back and forth, but with the hotkey. And so there's lots of other hotkeys like this. You can toggle bold, Command B, toggle italics, Command I. So it's very quick to do these sorts of things. You don't have to highlight. Well, you do have to. If you want to do italics, you would highlight it. But you don't have to always go back like on Microsoft Word, click the italics. And then there's also community plugins. As I mentioned, these are ones made by developers, and yeah, they can be very helpful. For example, this one, clear a line. Oh, Control C. So I just deleted a line without having to highlight it and delete. Yeah, so feel free to explore this, see what are the different options. These are in particular for my workflow, and so you might have different core plugins that you want to set up, maybe community plugins that you want to set up. But we will go shortly into community plugins. The aim of this page is mostly these are the core plugins I've set up, and the hotkeys I've assigned them. There's also hotkeys that I have unassigned. And then I just wanted to throw this in, the community plugins hotkeys on this page, just for the sake of having it all on one page. But we're going to go into community plugins shortly. Community plugin shortly. Community plugin shortly. And so these are the core plugins I have turned on. There are other ones that I do not have turned on that might be helpful to you. For example, if you have lots of presentations, there's like a slides option. Canvas is good for graphs and drawing, I believe. And yeah, so lots of other ones that you can explore. Now, core plugins. So this is where people can spend a lot of their time just exploring and getting lost to the point where it becomes unproductive. And I ended up in setting this up, looking through over, I think, 900 community plugins. First, I saw which ones were the most useful, and then narrowed those down to, I think, 140 that seemed like they could actually provide value, that I would use them. And then from there, I narrowed it down to, I think, around 40. And so with the 40 that I did narrow down to, I have them all on this list. And as you can see, it's a curated list. You can see the different types of core plugins that there are. There are plugins for text, plugins just for the UI, so how you're interacting with it, how Obsidian looks to you, plugins that are just adding additional hotkeys, plugins that can help you with tasks and project management, plugins for time management, productivity. Yeah, lots of different plugins. There's some that I want to come back to in the future that I didn't look at. For example, for drawing and charts, I didn't include that here, but there are, for example, Obsidian charts, Canvas mind map. I think ExcaliDraw might have been one that I didn't include. ExcaliBrain, maybe that was the one. Yeah, so there's lots of ones that I didn't explore, some that were close to being on my used, but not really. And then the rest of the plugins that I also explored, but didn't end up using. And then this is just a full list of all the plugins that I looked at in more detail. So with each of these plugins, or for the majority of them, the community plugins that I used, I made a note to explain sort of what settings I have for it and its functionality, how to use it. And so, for example, this text format I'm using the default settings, and this plugin allows us to format text, and so it can capitalize all the words in a sentence. It can, if you highlight certain things, and then you just use a hotkey to make them all bullet points if these weren't bullet points. And there's other options that it had that I also didn't want to set up because I didn't see myself using them. So that's something that you can explore if you want, or just take this font as it is. I try to make it so that it addresses the core needs. Yeah, and then another one we can look at is Quiet Outline. What's this? So for this one, I had default settings and then the usage. So here we're essentially just using it to view an outline of a document and see it at the different levels. So all of these are different headings. This is the heading 1, heading 3, heading 4. And so if we go here, where is it? Outline. Quiet outline. So here we can see, actually let's fold all headings in this. From an overview, there's 3 headings in this file. So if we go to, to the first one, here we can see the 3 headings. Now let's say we want to see a heading down. So that's basically just expanding this one. We can look at that, but from the side without having to manage or deal with folding and unfolding all these headings manually.
You get the picture.
Yeah, so lots of plugins to explore, and I tried to have notes on the majority of them. There's some that are a little bit more nuanced and detailed that I want to come back to and add more examples and notes for. So let's see. So once you've looked through all the different options and really gotten familiar and accustomed to the settings and the core plugins, some of the community plugins, you can also so once you've gone, there's some that are example. So once you, so let's see. and add more. And really, so once you've so once you've gotten familiar with the settings and Obsidian, the UI, the different buttons, and things, then you can jump into the project management vault, or not the vault, but the section of this vault. And so here I try to be detailed in how I'm using getting things done. So introducing getting things done, and then sort of going into how I've integrated it with Obsidian. So just going over the file, yeah, you can read that. And so let's dive quickly into the workflow. So looking at,
I say quickly, but it's like 40 minutes more.
At this chart, getting things done is essentially, it starts off with finding tasks or actions that are collected in inboxes. And so inboxes is any place where things have not sort of met their final resting spot. And typically people use their mind for this. If you have like a list of things in your mind that you need to do and it's always there, then that's technically an inbox, and it's not a very good inbox because we tend to forget stuff. It can make us very stressed, and so we want designated inboxes to hold these things that we need to work on. And so first is sort of setting up your inboxes. And before you maybe even start setting up the system, just brainstorm for like an hour. Think about every little thing that you feel hasn't sort of reached its final resting spot, and then put that into your inbox. And that can be a note or a paper document, something like that. And so now that we have all these actions and tasks in our inbox that we need to do, we need to go through them and process them. And so the first step is seeing if a task is actionable or if it's something that we need to store. So let's say it's not actionable. Then it's a task that either is related to a project. So my version of projects are efforts. So it's something that we need to place in a project's documents or folder, or however you store your projects. Otherwise, it could be like an article or a magazine or a book. And so then we want to store it in our library. Maybe it's last year's taxes that are just sitting on the table, or mail that you need to go through and you no longer need, but you want to store it. So then we store it in an archive. And then the other option is delete it. Maybe it's something that we thought we'd be interested in, so we said we'd do it, but now it's no longer interesting to us, or it's not as important as we realized. Now the other aspect, or the other side of it, is now what if a task is actionable? Now how do we break it down? So first we want to see if a task is just something that you can do in one step, or is it something that's more of a project because it requires multiple steps? If it's immediate, it's something we can do in less than 2 minutes. The best thing to do is just do it. If it's something that you can't do, for example, let's say you need to, I don't know, pay a car loan and it's in your parents' name, then this is where you delegate it. Yeah, so if it's less than 2 minutes, do it now. If it's not, this is where we go into the scheduling. So we can either soft schedule or hard schedule. Soft scheduling for me is putting it for a particular day. No specific time, just whenever we have time on a given day. But yeah, And then the other option is hard scheduling. So this is like appointments, doctor visits, or anything else where you need to get it done on a specific day at a given time. Hard schedule into your calendar. Last option again is delegating and waiting. If you're not the main person to drive that task forward, then you need to delegate it. Now, the other option is if a task is multi-step. If it's something that is going to require more than one step, so we do need some tracking to it, some form of structure. And so here we can first determine if it's important or urgent. If it's neither, we want to put it maybe in the someday maybe file or a someday maybe system. And so this system is just keeping a list of the different things that you want to do someday maybe in the future, but it's not something that requires your attention right now. Now the next part is if a project or task is multi-step and it's important and urgent, well, we need to break it down. How do we approach this? And so there are some projects I would say that are quick. You can draw it out on a piece of paper. It's just a checklist that you can do. All the tasks are pretty easy. You can just knock it out. And so for those, I typically just set up a note and just brainstorm. Break it down into all the different sequences of tasks and then just check them off as I go. And this can just be a folder in the efforts, which I'll describe in just a second. Otherwise, I have a template for taking on projects that I tend to follow. And so in setting up this vault, I sort of flesh that out. So going into the structure, I'll try to make this more quicker actually. So going into the structure of my system, and not all of this is Obsidian based. There's some that's offline, or not necessarily offline, but in different technology or software. And so just going briefly through this, my inboxes, these are all my designated inboxes where I typically store stuff. So the common one is email inbox. This I'm using Outlook. When I find something interesting like a YouTube video, an article I want to read, I bookmark it. So Firefox, my downloads folder, my notes on the Notes app, and then I also have an inbox file on Obsidian. And then on my phone and iPad, I sometimes find videos. I sometimes find videos, so I'll leave the tabs open on there in expectation that I come back to them. So I always got to put those into my inbox. And then any photos that are related to actions that I need to take. Wait folder, this one I actually don't use at the moment, but some people might find it useful. My someday maybe folder, my calendar is like, So with Outlook, this is where I schedule the things I need to do, specific days and times, not just something that I need to do on a given day. It needs to be specific day, specific time. Now for efforts. Actually, I'll come back to this, but these are the different folders that I use to organize the different efforts or projects that I'm undertaking. Now, archive as well. So this is a hard drive, for example, that I have that's encrypted. So in there I store personal identification information that I need, maybe if I'm, filling something out, or if I need to, for example, when I started college, I needed a lot of these things like vaccination papers, or I don't remember what else, but these things come useful in sort of emergencies, or when you need these things quickly, you can always find it in one spot. And the thing is just making sure it's safe in a vault and encrypted. And now, yearly documents, this one I won't go through it as much, but every year we have a bunch of documents that are very useful to store, either for ourselves when we need to reference them, or for family members if we're passing away. Having all this information can help them quickly go through it. I don't know why I added that note, but yeah, these things can be useful when you're filling out applications, you're going for a job, or you're going to college. Useful to have these things. Now, this is for more personal stuff that doesn't quite fit like a yearly schedule. For example, if you just want photos and videos of trips and specific areas, or you're going to college, it fit like a yearly as of just stored in you want to archive them. Okay, so let's take a moment to reflect. If we're following the system where we're storing tasks, or not necessarily storing, but we're collecting tasks, we're processing them, seeing if it needs to be stored in our library or archive, which I just showed here. In my personal library is my computer, my archive is my hard drive. So we covered that. We're going to cover efforts. We've covered soft scheduling, so that takes care of immediate. Intermediate, hard schedule is just calendar. So we've covered over half of this structure, of this diagram. We also covered someday maybe. Actually, let's briefly go into that. So here, someday maybe are the different we also covered someday maybe. Actually, let's briefly go into that. So here, someday maybe are the different projects that I want to do sometime in the future. So here I have 2 in the vault for an example. And so here you can see for each someday maybe, I have the name of it, priority, start date, when I want to review it, when I added it, and then the specific effort area that it's related to. So it can be life ops or it can be intellectual. I'll get into that in a moment. So let's look at Learn C++. So this is a someday maybe project that I want to undertake. And so my brief description of it was just, I want to learn C in detail. And then so another thought that came was, how can I do this? And in my idea of learning C, I wanted to follow the C learning program, the C programming language book. So I want to study it for about an hour a day, and maybe there's other things that I need to do to claim that I know C, but this is the first thing that I wanted to take note of. And and we can see that's stored in our command center. I'm losing my voice, but we can see that this note is stored in the command center. Someday maybe these are the different projects I might want to come back to in the future. And this someday maybe is where they're stored. An important note is that the items that show up on this table are those that contain the hashtag someday maybe. So if you make a file with someday maybe, with the hashtag someday maybe, it's going to show up here. And so another thing to know is when you do make a someday maybe project, you're going to want to copy this and use it as a template. So just fill in this table, these properties, with your information. And in this table, or in this YAML or friend matter, whatever you want to call it, make sure in the tag section to have someday maybe, and then whatever other tags you want to have. If it has someday maybe, it's going to show up on the someday maybe file. So let's see. So I covered someday maybe. Now let's go into the last part of this diagram, projects. So projects have two different things. First, a project is an individual project or an individual effort. And then we have to manage all these different efforts. So there's project, setting up projects and having timelines and all the details of what goes into one individual project. But then there's also the management part. How do we ensure in the long term that we're fulfilling this project, that it's going to meet the success that we envision it? And so for this, I have two sort of systems or things that I have set up in this fall. The first is a standard template. And so in this template, we can see there are 6 files. These files, which you can see here, templates, template effort, these are the 6 folders, and each of these contains files. And so let's look at project charter. So when we're starting up a project, we want to have a clear vision about all these different things. And so, for example, the first one is we want a one-sentence summary that we can think about why or what this project is about. So when we're just quickly going through all the different projects, if there's, for example, have lots of projects. So having a one sentence, what is this project, is let's look at project charter. Folders, the 6 folders, and each of these contain.
I wish I didn't record with music. Right now, listening to it, it sounds kind of horrible. Or maybe like slower music would have helped, but it was an hour recording. I don't know that I want to go through it again.
Files. And so let's look at project charter. So when we're starting up a project, we want to have a clear vision about all these different things. And so, for example, the first one is we want a one-sentence summary that we can think about why or what this project is about. So when we're just quickly going through all the different projects, if there's, for example, have lots of projects. So having a one sentence, what is this project, is helpful sometimes when I'm like, why did I do this? Or when I need to review. So the about section, then there's the why. So what's the purpose of the project, and by what principles are you going to follow to complete this project? So guiding principles and constraints that you need to follow, and then outcome envisioning. So what's wild success? What do you expect from this project? And once you have that cleared up, then you can go into brainstorming the how of the project. So now that I understand what I need to do, why I'm doing it, how do I go about it? So this is also a template. We can actually review this one. So brainstorming, I have some instructions. Different people have different ways. You can mind map, you can free write, but the aim of brainstorming is to write down all your ideas without judgment, focus on quantity over quality, and then once you have all the ideas written down, then you want to have some structure. So after you write it down, we're going to have an initial planning phase. And so I do have 2 examples in this folder. In the template, for example, here, in the template itself is example content that you can delete once you get familiar with it. And then another specific example that is applicable to me, let's see, efforts, intellectual radiology, charter, brainstorming. So this is just me brainstorming. Let me make sure I didn't share anything that Yeah, okay. Because I did write this down for my particular project, but I don't think I ever revisited to make sure that it wasn't sharing something I didn't want to share. But yeah, so essentially it's just writing down everything that came down to my mind, and it wasn't actually a lot, or I didn't have to write down a lot for me to actually get started with it. And so taking that, also using a little bit of ChatGPT's help, but not really. Actually, in segment, did I? No, I don't think I did. Not for this one. I do use ChatGPT's help to help me phrase things in the right way. So, for example, in the overview, here is where I wanted to be very concise and clear on what I wanted. And so, having ChatGPT's help to make my language clear to myself in the future when I read this, I want it to be clear and clear to other people as well, in case I need to share this, in case I'm collaborating with other people on this project. And so, yeah, I do use ChatGPT's help for the the overview. But in the timeline, it was more of just, how do I break this down? And so this particular project, report generation, first, as with any project, you need to ramp up. Once you start ramping up, in this particular case, it's so niche and so specific. First, I need to ramp up, understand other people's work. And once he sees that I've sort of taken the time to do this, then it's getting up to speed on what he's worked on so far, so I can help contribute there. And then from there, it's okay, now I understand what's out there and what we're doing. Now, how do we move forward from here? And then, since I'm only here for like 6 months left, then writing a research paper and getting some other outputs from this project for myself that might help me with a potential future startup or stuff like that. So that's brainstorming. And yeah, and with any project at the beginning, you also need budget and resources. And then the next part that I'll show, the other parts you can sort of look through and adjust for yourself, but they all are very organized, as I just showed with the other notes. So now looking at the planning and strategy aspect of a project. We developed an initial plan in the brainstorm, which is actually what I'm pushing forward to use as a reference for these. So first, looking at timeline and milestones, for me, this is just what's, from a very, very high level, what is a timeline and the key milestones that I need to achieve to make sure this project is successful. And so for me, this was starting in January. Oh, it's supposed to be 2024, but starting in January and then having, this is an example. An example. Let's follow this one, actually. Yeah, so starting this project in January and ramping up over the next 28 days. From there, going through whatever papers he has and just making sure I understand those. And then from there is starting to do the work. And so now looking at planning and strategy. Work and planning and strategy is starting to do the work. And so now and project. We developed an initial plan in the brainstorm, which is actually what I'm pushing forward to use forward from here. And then, since I'm only here for like 6 months left, then writing a research paper and getting some other outputs from this project for myself that might help me with a potential future startup or stuff like that. So that's brainstorming. So now looking at planning and strategy. Planning and strategy, I is a sort of continuation from the brainstorm. In the brainstorm, we made an initial plan of the different tasks that we have to do. So now we have an idea of the timeline and milestones. And so for timeline and milestones, you can go here to the template, one that has a brief example. You can also reference the one that is for my particular project. So for my project, for example, I have the start date, the different milestones I have to achieve, and then by when I hope to end this project. And then looking at the action plan. So here we can just go here. Action plan, breaking down those milestones into the tasks, which again, we're drawing from the brainstorming. Each task, I have a check mark, and so if you're not familiar with check marks, it's just the dash and then 2 brackets, and that makes a check mark. And so then we can start to write out a task, and then if you want to query the task, so if you want, in some notes, where I have tables that automatically display what tasks you need to do on a given day, or what's the start date of a project, you're going to need to use the start and due date to make for those querying aspects. So for example, for this task, I wanted to start today, and then I want a due date of, you can just do that and then rewrite whenever you want it to be due. And then we can also have reoccurring. So let's say I want to do this every day, and then we set up a task. And so this will show up in other files, but for now, you can just see how I've sort of set up these things. Each milestone has tasks. You can, of course, change it to your own needs, but that's an overview of how I set that up. And then with tasks and project management, I want to log my progress every 2 weeks. And so this is my progress log. So I set up a recurring task, and this actually shows up in my daily notes, which I'll show later in this video. But every 2 weeks, this will show up on my inbox. I have to go over each task and specify the task name, go over each task, specify the status, and then any notes. And then furthermore, there's going to be other areas of tracking. So for example, improvement plan, self-evaluation, these are other areas that I have that I'm going to have recurring tasks to make sure that the project is on its way to completion. So an overview, that's sort of my effort structure. It has 6 folders, each folder has a file. And then another thing actually that I added last minute was this upcoming projects task file, which is just at the root of each folder. File, which is just at the root of each folder. And so this essentially just queries which tasks I have to do. I have to start doing within the next 4 weeks. I don't go by end date because I need to know what tasks I need to start doing. I could have like a reoccurring task that's like, let's say, it starts today. What's a good example? I don't know at the moment. Maybe it's like you want to pave a path in the front of your house, and it's going to take you like 2 months. And it's very clear that you just need to do the same thing over and over. You don't quite want to make it a recurring task. It's just one task that you need to do. It's going to take you 6 months. If the end date is 6 months from now, 2 months from now, going by the end date isn't going to show up that you need to, it's something that you need to be doing every day and consistently. So yeah, this is just tests that I need to start within the next 4 weeks. And so this shows up at the start of every project as well.
That was such a bad example. Do I just leave it? Maybe I'll add a note.
I don't know at the moment. Maybe it's like reoccurring tasks that's like, let's say, it starts today. What's a good example? I don't know at the moment. Maybe
I think I'll cut it out. It's just such a bad example.
in the front of your house, and it's going to take you like 2 over and over. You don't quite want to make it a recurring task. It's just one task that you need to do. It's going to take you. You want to pave.
Where do we go for that? Titles. So this is such a bad example. Point I'm trying to make is you should go by project start dates so you can plan accordingly and aren't hit last minute with a large task with multiple large tasks.
A path in your front. You want to pave a path in your front, in the front of your house, and it's going to take you like 2 months. And it's very in the front of your house, and it's going to take you like 2 months. And it's very clear that you just need to do the same thing over and over. You don't quite want to make it a recurring task. It's just one task that you need to do. It's going to take you 6 months.
And if a task multiple days, you should actually use recurring tasks. Facepalm.
That you just need to do the same thing over and over. You don't quite want to make it a recurring task. It's just one task that you need to do. It's going to take you 6 months. If the end date is 6 months from now, 2 months from now, going by the end date isn't going to show up that you need to, it's something that you need to be doing every day consistently. So yeah, this is just tests that I need to start within the next 4 weeks. And so this shows up at the start of every project as well. So now let's see, we've gone through individual projects. Now how do we manage multiple projects?
Areas of wellness. 43, 48.
To manage multiple To manage multiple projects, the best way that I thought about breaking this down was following the 7 areas of wellness. If you're not familiar, every person has 7 areas that they're sort of doing tasks or completing actions. And so it can be intellectual, it's just pure learning like school. It could be emotional, so meditation, therapy, anything else that helps you emotionally. It could be occupational, so those are jobs, hustles, and other sorts of things like that. It could be physical, so let's say you want to be healthy, or nutrition, or you want to improve your grooming habits, so that's physical. Or social, it could be you need to improve your communication skills. Um, Spiritual, that could be religion or meditation. It's just what how do you say, whichever task you think, or let me pause and think about this. So any given task can have multiple areas where it benefits your life. However, I place it in the area that sort of aligns with it most. So looking at the effort dashboard, 4516 effort dashboard 16. This is querying all the different projects that you have. So let's see, actually. Or let's go over it first. So this is a table, the name of the project, a link to the overview. So here you can see the overview, timeline. So this was our brief timeline, and then the plan. And then you can have a status for the project. There's other things you can add to it. These are just the properties, and then you can specify what you want to show up in this table. So this one, it's not started. I started this on January. I want it to end in June, and the priority of the project. And so here you can see, you can specify the different properties that show up. And when I say properties, if we look at this timeline, which is where these properties are specified, at the top, these are the different things we're showing. So we were showing the name, we were showing the overview, timeline, plan. So if you want to add one, you can add it here, and then tell the table to add it here as well. And then what's making this show up in the table is this tag, project intellectual. So this is a tag I'll only use for projects that are in the intellectual category. And so all of these different categories are showing projects in those. And so I don't have any for emotional or life ops yet. This is just a template that you can fill in for your own projects. And the thing I like about the 7 areas of wellness is it's a good way to show sort of what areas you might be neglecting. Sure, sometimes you need to focus and you only have like occupational and physical, there's only work and exercise, and that's all there is to your life. Sometimes that's what life calls for, but other times you want to be a little bit more well-rounded and sustainable. So that was sort of the reason I went with this approach. And always to remind us that there's more areas than just whatever we may be focused on. Yeah, so that's an overview of project management. So we've covered this sort of graph, and I think the book goes into this, but covered this sort of graph. And I think the book goes into this, but it's not showing up in the, or actually it does show up. Okay, so let me reframe. So we covered the majority of or we covered all of this diagram. Now, the one thing that we sort of swept under the rug was soft scheduling. So what is soft scheduling? So soft scheduling is when we put a task for a given day. However, it can be done at any time during that day, just whenever we have time, or depending on how we feel. And so for soft scheduling, I'm actually using Obsidian for that as well. And so this is how I'm doing it, day-to-day scheduling. And so here you can see it follows this folder file structure. So I have a planner. In each planner, I have a folder for the year. And then within each folder, I have a folder for the month. So this is January, February, all the way to December. Now within each month, I have...
No, what did I do? 47.
Is to try to make it modular. Let's see, where was it? No, it's a way so that you don't see all 32 or all 31 notes. That's scheduling set. Yeah, so that's an overview of project management. So we've covered this sort of graph, and I think the book, or actually it does show up. Okay, so let's of the rug, what we feel. And so here you can see it follows the folder file structure. So I have a planner. In each planner, I have a folder for the year. And then within each folder, I have a folder for the month. So this is January, February, all the way to December. Now within each month, I have a folder for the week. And so it's continuous. So in January, there's weeks 1 through 5. In February, part of week 5 to week 9. And then December is going to end with week 52. This is just a way so that you don't see all 32 or all 31 notes open up when you open up a given month. And it also helps if you're planning by your weeks instead of whatever you might be doing. So for each given week, I'm going to have a daily note and a weekly review note. Now, the daily note and the weekly note can follow whatever template you want, because the way that I set up this this vault is, let's see, where was it? Templates, is to try to make it modular. And so for any day, this is a template that each day will follow, and you can change it. This is why I have version 0. On any day, there are 3 sorts of tasks that we undertake. The first is a daily inherent task. These are tasks that we need to do every single day, regardless of what day it is. It's always something that we need to do as a human. And so for me, that's these tasks. And maybe you don't need this. For me, I have a strong work ethic, I guess you could say. And so sometimes I need reminders for self-care. And so this just helps encourage that. So once I shower, boom, I got momentum for the day. So anyways, there's daily tasks, and then there's recurring effort tasks. So let's say you want to learn Spanish. That's one of your efforts that you set up. Now, for Spanish, you're going to need to study every day for 30 minutes, an hour, and be consistent. So you're going to want to set up a task that you want to show up in your daily scheduler, you could say. And so this is going to query for all tasks that you need to start today that are not completed and that are reoccurring. Now actually before I go on, for this, just quickly showing, let's see, where was my... Need to start today in your daily scheduler, you could say. So you're going to want to set up that's one of your efforts that you set up. So anyways, there's daily tasks.
50, 46.
So daily recurring tasks. And then there's recurring. You're gonna want to set up a task that daily scheduler. And so this is going to start today that are not completed. Now the other. Okay, actually, before I go on for this, just quickly showing. Let's see, where was my radiology report timeline? It's not opening up. Oh, this is the timeline. Yeah, for the plan. Actually, doesn't show up here. Let's see. Showing. Let's see. Just quickly showing. Timeline. Yeah, for the plan. Actually, doesn't show. Go to templates, template effort. Let's see. Honestly. If we go to templates, template effort, action plan. Yeah. So if you look at the template one, there is a section for recurring tasks. If we go to templates, template effort, actually doesn't show up here. Let's see. This just quickly showing. If we go to templates, template effort, action plan. Yeah. So if you look at the template one, there is a section for recurring tasks. I put them at the end of the note because if you can see, once you check it off, the task plugin will automatically add a task for the next day because it's a reoccurring task, and they will always show up at the end of the file. Or you need it to. It's best to have it show up at the end of the file because they can start accumulating like this. Now you have 30 tasks, and you don't want all of this, for example, to be at the top. So, yeah, and each of these will show up in your given in the day that you need to do it. Just because it has this symbol and because it's a task. Now, if you do want to manage these a little bit better, there's a community plugin called PackRat, and I do have a note on that. So if you go to community plugins, you can see all the different notes I have for each of the plugins, and there is, don't I have PackRat? Maybe that's something I'll need to add. I thought I added it. But look into PackRat. Essentially, it can delete tasks that have been completed, or it can just put them at the very end of the file, or it can put them into a different file. So there's that. Let's see what we covered. Oh yeah, so going back to a given day, there's daily tasks, there's recurring tasks. Now there's also soft schedule tasks, and this can happen on just out of nowhere. You have someone needs you to do something. You can soft schedule it, or in your weekly review, let's say you're planning out your entire week. This is where you would add tasks for any day in a week. Yes, and then so this is essentially just manual. This is where you go. The randomness of human life can be put sort of at the end of your note for a day. And then so you notice that I have in my planner folders for all the months, and then I'm having files for all the days. So how do you have this automatically? And so for that, I made a hotkey, Option Y and Option W. Option Y sets up the folders. So if you tell it a given year, and where you want it, it'll make the yearly folder. It'll make the folders for each month in that year, and then it'll make the folders for each week in those months. Now for the files, for the weekly files, that you want to follow the template day, template week, hit Option W, give it the specific week that you want it to set up for, and it'll create files for each day like this that follow the template day and template week. And then for more information on these two hotkeys that I set up, you can go to the quick add note, and it shows you more details on this process. Yeah, so this explains it a little bit more. And then parts of the system that I haven't set up yet. Yeah, so this system, I aim to cover the majority of this diagram. So you can see that we have soft scheduling, hard scheduling. Scheduling is just a calendar. Obsidian does have like a calendar to it, but I prefer Outlook. It's just more intuitive for me. There's a someday maybe file. There's project breakdowns. So for each project, having a structure. Also, how do we manage multiple projects? So that's this. And then soft scheduling you talked about, having daily notes where recurring tasks show up. And then the things that are sort of swept, not necessarily swept under the rug, but things that I sort of need to come back to and review a little bit more are the review things. So for example, every week, what's the best way to review? How do you make sure you have a clear mind for the start of the week? Going beyond weekly review, how do you schedule a quarter? How do you ensure an efficient quarter? How do you know you're making progress? Yearly review. Each year, how do you know you made the most of your time? So all these different things that I myself need to build up for myself before all these different things that I need to put an effort and thought into to make sure that it's efficient for myself before I package it and try to have other people use it. And then there's other things that I didn't do in this note that I would want to do in a future note. So for example, right now, this only supports light theme or dark theme. And maybe people aren't comfortable going into the CSS. Or the hotkeys I currently have set up use Control and Command. And so there might be conflicts if you're using a Windows computer. So going up and clearing those up. Adding more notes and examples for some of the hotkeys that are a little bit more advanced. And then another part is, so for example, I follow projects for classes. So I have a project or an effort that I'm taking a machine learning class. I did this last quarter, and I'm taking notes. And now I'm done with the class. How do I process these notes to put it into my library so I can reference it for the future and make sure that I don't forget what I learned this quarter? So that's something that I want to build up as well. So yeah, all these future enhancements that I want to make, however, they don't impact the core of getting things done. And so I'm probably gonna make these enhancements and then refine this vault a little bit more and probably offer it for like $5. I don't want to try to make a living off of this. This is just something that I spent some hours in. Want to make some money. But I'm not trying to, like, this is my job to work with Obsidian. But yeah, let's see. So I think that's the core of it. Obsidian. But Obsidian. What is Obsidian? Vaults, functionality, getting things done, usage. Yeah, so that's the core of it, actually. And then the only other thing, usage. To work with Obsidian. Yeah, so that's the core of it, actually. And then the only other thing that I would mention is I did build this in public, and so I record myself for the past 14 days making this vault, you can see the decisions I made and how I've sort of explored the different settings and set up the hotkeys in the playlist where I record myself. That I would mention is building in public. Note about available playlist of me building in public. View info 59:23. I did build this in public, and so I record myself for the past 14 days making this vault, you can see the decisions I made and how I've sort of explored the different settings and set up the hotkeys in the playlist where I record myself building this in public. So if you're curious on some of the details of this vault, you can check that out. GitHub link is in the comments. Yeah, subscribe. All right, looks. I wouldn't say it looks good. I would say though that there's a lot of value in it. And when I say that it has a lot of value in it, I'm not saying necessarily that it's going to apply to everyone should watch it, but coming from a place where I've always wanted to set up a getting things done system and manage projects and tasks in this sort of flow, this is game changing, basically. And that's really all I have to say. Like, now that I have it, gotta run with it. I'm not gonna spend just time, oh, it's so amazing. It's amazing. And if you can see that, if you spend a little time going through it, how do I, don't allow, what's happening? I should go through that and see that didn't share anything I don't want. 143:40 shared something. Okay, so file, where is it? I'm gonna stop sharing for a little bit just while I find it. How do I export it? Media imports. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't share anything. But how do I export it? Isn't it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Export file 17 gigabytes. Settings, yeah, standard. Export. Next. Obsidian walkthrough. Oh, I can share it again. No, actually, I'll just through, save, scene one. Oh, there we go. Great, so it's exporting. After this, I'll pause the video. When we come back, we will work on. So I recorded, scripted, and edited. Oh, working on a thumbnail, title, and then sharing it on YouTube, and then making a post. So that's what we'll do when we come back. Yeah. Okay. So while the video is being made or rendered, let's look through the, what do you call these? Thumbnails? Yeah, thumbnails. And take a couple that look good, and then we'll try to just make something that looks similar to it. So, filters, maybe. Let's do view count. Obsidian. Oh. Dragon bones. Obsidian. Notes. Oh, filters. View count. Hacking your brain. Just a simple, sleek hacking your brain. That's okay. Oh, actually, what I should do is take a screenshot of the title as well. I like how simple it is to make her screenshot. Well, maybe not be simple, but I mean it looks a lot simpler than, well, this is simple. I take that back. But yeah, they're not expecting like really high design thumbnails. Okay, one idea I have for title. Where did I have my previous title? Titles, mastering Obsidian. Don't just use Apple Notes, ... Shots. Do we want to take shots? You need all these. I tried Obsidian, how to get started. My comprehensive. Obsidian, or maybe Obsidian for project and task management. A GTD inspired vault for beginners and beginning and advanced. Beginning advanced users. You're using Apple Notes wrong. How do I approach this? Do I want to target productivity or Obsidian? Maybe I think I'll go with productivity actually, because the title already has Obsidian, so it should show up with other Obsidian searches, but then it would also show up for those that are into productivity. While if I go with this, it's gonna, I feel like this is more likely to just show up for Obsidian and not necessarily for project management. I don't know. Obsidian for project and task. Users. It's two N's, right? Beginning and advanced users. Yeah, actually, let's go with that. Yeah, I think that's fine. I also kind of want to do this, but it's not as informative. If I was like a big channel, sure, I'd do this just to troll some people, but given that I need to be informative at this point in this channel's life, we'll just be simple and straightforward. So we know that. Now, how do we make our thumbnail? Oh, I think I have a good thumbnail. Let's see, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Open my PowerPoint. Okay, where's everything at? Social media.
is it? First. Oh, found it. So scene 1, we're going to insert a new slide, blank, and I'm basically going to replicate the hacking your brain, just because it looks minimal, sleek, and modern. Format background, solid black. So now we're going to search for Obsidian MD images. Not quite the same black. How do we format background? Okay, actually, maybe a better image as well. Obsidian MD logo. Yeah, this might be an older one, but it's a vector image. So we have Obsidian, and then we want a text box plus our text is white or yellow. GTD. So something big like that, and let's do a nice font. That's nice. I like that. Plus GTD. And then we'll say master. What was the other one that we had? Copy this just in case. Mastering productivity with Obsidian. Mastering project and task management. Insert. What am I doing? And so this one, insert mastering project and task management. I don't think it came out, but we'll change it. With Obsidian. Brain with Obsidian. Boom. Let's see how. And they're using like Arial or something like that. Project. And task, let's do. And task. Okay, so it's actually pretty large. Let's make this smaller. And we can make Obsidian bigger. Does that look centered? So is this centered? So that's centered, and the top I need to fix. No, I think it's. Where's it? Oh. Do I want to copy theirs almost? Yeah, we'll go with this. Okay. And I think the video is done, so we will file, save as. Okay. Let's see, I don't want to share everything, so I'll do it over here. File, save as. In downloads and Obsidian thumbnail. Oh wait, not file. Huh, is there really no save slide? No save slide. Maybe just take a screenshot. Cool. Now desktop. Cool. So now we'll upload it. Create, upload video. Download files, walk through, open.
Hey everyone, welcome. So in this video I'm going to be covering two main things. First, I'm going to be covering Obsidian.
That's good. And Obsidian thumbnail. And then what else? Description. I don't have description, but we have the title. Done. No, it's not made for kids. Video elements, checks, visibility, public, schedule, tomorrow. Yeah. Close. Dope. So we have that finished. That was, oh, damn. So it's not finished actually. Comments. Edit title and description. Cancel. I'll have to come back to this. But I want to add timestamps. And in a comment, I'll add timestamps again. And, oh, I need to add tags as well. Yeah, so I need to go back and do that. So let's see. Make thumbnail, make title, record video. So now that that's uploading, I want to wait for it to finish uploading, and in the meantime we can make a post on, we can make the post. So let's see, update, tags, description, publish video. So let's see. I'm gonna open my Reddit, but first, again, I want to see that nothing I don't intend to share is shown. Okay, so I've got one. and most similar Reddits. Okay, so I'll share this, and I'll share this. So we want to publish to Getting Things Done Reddit for sure, but we're not sure about which other ones to use. GT. Maybe, okay, so that one's actually just spell out Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done and productivity apps. Deep work. Should I do deep work? No, we'll leave deep work out of it. And then the one that I'm not sure about is PKM's Personal Knowledge Management. To classify, organize the information. So these include improving memory, creativity, include yeah, no, actually PKM isn't a good site. I never even said PKM productivity. Getting Things Done, productivity apps. Okay, so it's actually productivity. Let me and then while I'm at it, I'll also search up Getting Things Done. Oh, only 700 members. And then productivity apps. My Life Organized, maybe that. My Life Organized. No, 248 members. Okay. So, don't get distracted. No advertising, which includes soliciting of apps, app ideas, blogs, playlists, referrals, videos, websites. What do we think? General advice, technique. What do they have here? And maybe self-improvement. Yeah, probably not productivity. Yeah, this one's dead. No. And this subreddit 5 hours ago. Yeah, I'm not sure. 1,000. They just have. Maybe we'll go for it. Like organized, only 248. Nope. Deciding to be better. No, that breaks posts that come from accounts that spam a link or others. No, or list videos. Maybe not. Continuously. Self-improvement, no self-promotion is not appropriate to sell. If you would like to promote, consider. And he's not. No offsite invites. Damn. What is up with this set subreddit? This year. Yeah, so we said not this one or this one. Basically just this subreddit and getting things done. Wasn't as good as communities as big as I expected it, as I would have wanted, but gotta get it somehow. So let's see. Let's open up ChatGPT. Hi chat, can you help me? Wait, before I even ask it, where did I have my previous posts? Is it today the 1st? Reddit post, and this one we want to make it out to Reddit post. So for this one, to introduce, discuss, request apps for productivity. Obsidian. Plus getting things done. Influence project management vault. Everyone, I want, if you're not familiar, or hey everyone, let's see. I recently got into Obsidian, free local taking app, and decided to build a vault that follows the getting things done methodology. Follows the getting things done methodology. Task management. Just in time for the new year, I worked on this for about 2 weeks and dove into familiar Obsidian. Let's actually cut that out. Just in time for the new year. You are completely unfamiliar with Obsidian. I made a walk through video rinse while going through the vault. Both functional, minimal, no flashy. Pardon. What kind of page would I be if I didn't embrace the hustle of they don't know about that. Yeah. And let's see. So if I'm someone on productivity apps, I probably may or may not have heard of Obsidian. Recently got into Obsidian, free local note-taking app, and I decided to build a vault that follows just in time for the new year. I made a walkthrough while going through the vault. Vault is just a for workspace. Yeah, it looks good, and I think this is good enough to just publish on productivity apps and getting things done. Hopefully there's not too much backlash, but the communities are small, so we'll see how it goes. And they don't have any rules against it, it's just no spam, and I'm not spamming. So getting things done, I'll add a little extra layer. Hey everyone, I've been trying to follow the methodology for a few years. I've never really found the right how do you say platform. I've never really found the right platform. I've been trying to follow it for years. I've never really found the right platform, and I've bounced around from everything to from a paper system to base tab, Excel based to Excel sheets to Notion to ToDoist, dot. I've recently got into Obsidian, a free local note-taking app. I've finally nailed for. I've been trying to follow for many years. I've never really found it, and I've bounced around from Notion to ToDoist. I've recently gone into Obsidian. I think I finally held it down. Just in time for the new year. You can find my vault here. My vault on GitHub. You can find my vault on GitHub for images of free to check out my previous post history. I posted it on Reddit. I cased it on the Obsidian Reddit. Completely unfamiliar me to walk through video that you can reference. Yeah, that's solid. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say cheating, but like we're walking the line of, we're like reusing text, we're posting basically the same thing to different Reddits, but it's not quite the same. It's the best intentions, so I feel okay doing it. Yeah, so now when you need to wait for the video to finish uploading, update the tags, make posts, post to Reddit channels, make a 1 minute video. So I think I'm gonna take a break, and I'll probably end the recording here. I did record a Twitter video, or a 3-minute video that I need to edit down. Basically the same process you just saw me go through for 2 hours. So I'll make that 1 minute video, try to add lots of pictures and stuff, and then post it to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah, post it to there. Yeah. Alright. Well, actually first. So based on that, then it seems like I'll probably then get to making my decision about dropping out and going through the system that I was shown tomorrow. And once that might actually take up a lot of tomorrow, because it is going to be a thorough decision, thinking about every different aspect, and then also thinking about at every step sort of reflecting if that's sort of the best step to take, so that then I can repackage it for the video that I'm going to publish. So tomorrow, this will be, actually let's add days. So scheduled date tomorrow, video about dropping out, scheduled day, let's do 3rd, market dropping out video. So this one I actually want to try to aim for the 3rd as well. This is gonna be so bad. Oh, well, actually I have school that day, so maybe not the 3rd. Yeah, no. Well, let's have it there for now. plan to reach 5K. This would be then the fourth market, maybe the fourth, maybe the fifth. Let's just do fifth. We can have some slack in there. Think about how to increase. So this is going to be on the 6th. So this will probably be a week of just thinking how we can make enhancements to my YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll come back to it after we make the plan. Then we'll see what's a priority. If this is a priority, we'll do it. If not, whatever is in the plan, we'll go to that. Yeah, sounds good. All right, see y'all tomorrow.